The long essay question is really a standard essay response to a prompt that concerns historical content. However, you will need to have a decent level of understanding of the historical content, as you will not be given any background information. It is expected that you will possess this content knowledge going into the test. With this in mind, we will use a sample question from our current intro unit to demonstrate how one might go about properly responding to an LEQ prompt. The LEQ is the last portion of the written section of the exam, and you will have 40 minutes in which to write your essay. This means that the time management that you will put into place will be very important as you construct your response. You will be given 3 different prompts that you may choose from. The College Board states in the course and exam description that the first prompt will cover the time period from 1200 AD to 1750 AD. The second will cover from 1450 AD to 1900 AD, and the last prompt will cover from around 1750 AD to the year 2001. Of course, it will make the most sense for you to choose a prompt from the time period that you know the most about. There are a few steps that we should take as we begin writing our LEQ essays. The first step we should take is to read the prompt. By reading it, I mean to really analyze it and to get a thorough understanding of what is being asked you. With this in mind, remember that even though only your response on your answer sheet will be scored, you are allowed to underline, circle words, and write in the margins of the test. Don't assume that you will remember what the question is asking you as you are writing your response under pressure and with time constraints. One of the most important things that you should circle or underline in the prompt is the time period, as if you are writing a response that is outside of the stated time period, you will not be awarded any points no matter how well your essay is written. In the case of our example prompt, we are being asked to focus on the time period from 600 BC to 600 AD. You also need to make note of the historical thinking skill that you're being asked to write your response with. As stated with this prompt, our historical thinking skill that we are being tasked with here is causation, as we are being asked to analyze the causes of imperial decline and collapse during the period from around 600 BC to 600 AD. If our essay doesn't align to this particular skill, it will be difficult for us to earn the full amount of points for our response. The last thing that we should look out for are the categories that we are being asked to write about. As we can see here, we must focus our response on imperial decline and collapse. Those are our categories, our subjects. By noting the time period, we should be able to determine some empires that would have declined and collapsed during this time frame. While there are many that we could list for this period, such as the Babylonians, the Persians, or the Macedonian Empire of Alexander the Great, it is best to use the clearest example possible. With much of this time frame being referred to as the Roman period, and the famous decline and collapse of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD, the Roman Empire may be the best choice for us to use in our response. The scoring rubric for both LEQs and DBQs is provided within the course and exam description, and you need to be sure that you're familiar with how it is used in order to ensure that you are including all the necessary elements that will give you a good score on your response. The first section of the rubric pertains to the writing of a historically defensible thesis that is backed by evidence with an established line of reasoning. This means that your thesis statement must outline an argument that will be defended throughout the duration of the rest of the paper. By establishing a line of reasoning, you must also demonstrate how you will be defending your argument. As stated in the module on argumentation and writing a thesis statement, the best way to do that is to introduce the evidence that you will be using in your body paragraphs within your thesis statement. The next section of the rubric is on contextualization, and it is also worth 1 point. To earn this point, you're being asked to put your argument that you laid out in your thesis statement into its larger historical context. This is done by describing events, developments, or processes related to the topic that occur before, during, or after the stated time frame of the prompt. While you can refer to later developments affected by the topic in order to earn this point, I found that it is easier to get it by discussing developments that occur beforehand in order to set the stage for your response. This can be done by using your paragraph following your introduction, where you introduce your thesis in order to describe important developments pertaining to your topic from the years preceding it. If we go back to our example prompt regarding the analyzing of the imperial decline and collapse between the years 600 BC and 600 AD, and stick to our example of the Roman Empire, we can describe such developments that preceded Rome's decline and consequently may have affected it, such as the Punic Wars, Rome's evolution of government from monarchy to republic to empire, and the 200-year time of prosperity known as the Pax Romana that preceded the empire's decline and subsequent fall. We can look at a clear line between all of these events, and by establishing that line, this will help ensure that the person reading and scoring your essay will notice and give you credit for your use of contextualization. The third portion of the rubric is evidence and is worth 2 points. Here you will be awarded 1 point for providing specific examples of at least 2 pieces of evidence related to your topic, or 2 points for using this evidence in support of an argument. You should have already established what evidence that you will be using in your thesis. So you should plan on using the next 2 paragraphs to explain how each of these pieces of evidence prove your claim. For example, if barbarian invasions and recruitment problems within the Roman military were listed as evidence within your thesis statement regarding our example prompt, you should devote a separate paragraph explaining how each of these supports your claim concerning the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. Each of these paragraphs should begin with a topic sentence and should be continued with further specific pieces of evidence regarding these points, followed by an analysis that explains how this evidence proves the claim. If this sounds familiar, it's the same process that we described in the module concerning how to answer SAQ questions. Also, you may note that I mentioned at least two pieces of evidence here, and that's very true. That is the bare minimum. Now, there's no limit as far as to how many you include, but remember, you should devote a paragraph to explaining each, and you are under time constraints here. So make sure that at minimum you include 2 pieces of evidence and you expound upon each of them in their own paragraphs apiece. The last portion of the rubric is the analysis and reasoning section of the rubric, which is also worth 2 points. Both of these points are awarded for the essay as a whole. Now, the first point is awarded for the use of historical reasoning skills in the framing of the argument of the paper, and the second point is for the demonstration of a complex understanding of the historical content referred to in the prompt. In order to get the point for historical reasoning skills, you must adhere to the line of reasoning referred to in the prompt itself. Our example prompt asked us to use the historical reasoning process of causation. So as long as we focused our answer upon the causes of imperial decline and collapse from 600 BC to 600 AD, we will be awarded this point. In other words, you are awarded a point for simply doing exactly what the essay asked you to do. The complexity point, on the other hand, is the one that is oftentimes much harder to obtain. Now, because of this, it is often advised to ensure that you are consistently obtaining the other points before attempting this one. Since it is awarded for the essay as a whole, one of the best ways of obtaining this point is to provide a counter-argument to your claim by showing that there are other ways in which the information can be interpreted. Now that you have been introduced to the process of LEQ writing and have received tips on how to go about constructing these sorts of responses, it is now time for you to attempt to put these skills into practice. You may choose one of these prompts to reply to. Please make use of this instructional video and consult the rubric as you write. We will engage in a peer scoring activity within class and will discuss your responses and your experiences with the LEQ writing process thus far.